bike home, or depends how far away
So
you
you're
go.
not an
But
ice cold like shower person?
yeah, no, I'm not. So I
Yeah,
for
no.
yeah, nah. Haven't you heard that? That's a very Australian thing.
I know,
Um,
which is why I love
yeah,
it.
yeah, nah.
Yeah, no. Hi, welcome to Unapologetically You with myself, Tulse, and the beautiful Kelly, where we discuss all things health and wellness. We use science-backed tools that can help you in your life, and hopefully this podcast will give you thought-provoking topics that you can discuss with your family and friends. So the theme today is taking what Vita spoke about in the last podcast and expanding in ways that we can create our own reality. So the theme is our thoughts become things. So before we dive in, don't forget that you can hit us up on Patreon. You can support us for the price of a small cup of coffee. And we'd appreciate if you enjoyed this podcast, share it with your family and friends. Don't forget to hit subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss future podcasts. And share this, like this, so more people can find free resources like this. So without further ado, I want you to welcome my beautiful co-host, Kelly. So, Cal, our question and answer feature of our podcast, which I always like, is what is your biggest win this week? Tell me.
little wins, right? We
Big wins,
celebrate the little
wins, they're
wins.
all wins. They are all wins.
This one's look, this one's a big one to me, but might seem little to other people. But oh my gosh, with all this humidity we've been having, my hair has just been like growing bigger and bigger and bigger. But it's kind of behaving itself. So this
I
week with all the
like it. I
well, I'm
like
letting
it.
it just go curly. I've done with straightening it because it makes no difference to it
No,
within
I
an
like
hour.
it. I was going to ask you, do you
Thank you.
blow it out all the time? Like, get it blown out?
When it's straight, no, I don't go to the hairdresser at all. Are you serious? Bless you thinking that I go to the hairdresser. No, you can
Honestly,
see
I'm
that the
like,
color's growing right out.
she's
There's
like
no
done her
color
hair for
being
this podcast. Like, guys, tune into like YouTube. She's looking foxy.
utterly not. I even sort of thought about, and I was talking to a client today, and I really don't think I should be on screen today. She said, just say that because my camera's been mucking up on Zoom like big time. She said, don't worry, your camera will probably muck up and you won't be able to be on screen anyway. Well, it's been absolutely perfect, right?
It
It
has.
hasn't mucked
I
up
did
once.
notice a bit of a weird like connection right when we were looking at this video. But
Oh, you did? I
yeah, but
didn't
then it
notice
just
it. I was watching the video, but yeah, well, it has been mucking up. So, but
was
anyway, not now. And little win, my hair has stayed flat and like basically looks like I've done something with it. Looks like I've been to the hairdresser, according to you.
well, exactly. So people probably don't look at Kelly going, "Oh, this is what she's done without making any effort."
Well, that's true. That's true. Yeah,
No, you
grateful
look
that.
fabulous. You always do anyway. I always say it. And it's
Oh, you
not
do
like
always say it.
blowing
Bless you.
smoke up your ass. It actually is true. Otherwise, I would just go, yeah, all right. Like, moving
Yeah.
on. What has made you smile this week or recently?
Uh, oh, a big, long, hours long conversation with my aunt, who just we speak, we text photos to each other, and that's often how we all communicate. But this morning she said, "Can I give you a call?" And I thought something bad had happened, but it hadn't. Um, and it just ended up being a 3 hour long conversation, which was very special. And I'm very grateful for it. And yeah, so that made me smile. A lot of the time it made me smile because she's a very funny lady and she made me laugh. And it's just lovely to laugh, and to be spontaneous about laughing. Yeah. So that was good. That made me smile. What about you?
I love that. So, well, my biggest win, I
Hmm.
did my international speaking engagement
That's
with this
right.
company. So I did
Yes.
one of the speaking engagements to Asia and Australia first. So I was super early in the morning, and I was like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, you know how it just like messes your routine? And I think I've got like my speaking engagement like what do you call it, like routine down. So I like put some good music on, obviously did my hair and makeup because I was going to be on like Zoom and stuff, and
Hmm.
or planned out this outfit going, this is the outfit I'm going to wear. I put it on and it looks like a white bin bag, and I'm like, well, this doesn't
Oh.
look good. So I'm like dancing around in the morning in the living room and like everywhere in my apartment, and I'm just psyching myself up for this. I'm doing like vocal exercises because it was first thing in the morning, right? So you're making sure you're not stumbling over your words. And I was like,
Yes.
I kind of like this routine. Like I'll save this playlist when I'm on stage and I do all of this like malarkey. And then in the afternoon, I ended up doing the same speaking engagement, but to people in Europe and North America. And it
Wow.
was really good. Like the engagement was good. And I knew in my head is like, I think there was over 100 people in the second one, but they were estimating like 500 people. And this is the first time it's been like that many people live. And I just thought to myself, I'm not going to psych myself out. Like people will either get this message or they'll either get one thing from it or nothing from it. Like I can't control.
Yeah.
I'm not an entertainer, right? Like I'm not there to then please everyone. It's just I'm giving the information about movement. How is it going to work for
Yeah.
you? And
Yeah.
that was the biggest win. And funnily enough, moving on to the second question, I'm just going to usher it in really quickly, is the smiling.
Uh-huh.
As I had this conversation with my mum yesterday, and she was talking about it would be my niece. So it's my dad's daughter's daughter. So it'd be
Your dad's daughter's daughter?
not
Your
dad,
dad's
my
sisters?
uncle's daughter's
Yes.
daughter. So we just
Yes.
class them as like aunties, uncles, and like
Yes.
I
Yes. Yes.
we haven't got kids yet in our families, like our family. So it's like I'm
Yes.
I'm their aunt. And funnily enough, my mum's face literally just lit up when she's talking about this little girl. And I think she's only like coming up to 6 months or something like that. And I'm just like, no, she's coming up to a year. Flipping out, she's tiny. But yeah, she's just like, my mum's just celebrating what she did and how she was attached to my mum and how she was bonding with her. My mum's face just lit up. And it was really
Which,
nice to see her smiled and genuinely like
yes.
telling me the story. So yeah, it's like connecting with people that you're able to have this connection with, right? You can smile with them, you can laugh with them, you can
Yeah.
talk
Yeah.
about stories. And I think that's really, really important as a part of our week. And if we can fit it in every day, right? Try and find something that makes you smile. So that's, guys, that's your mission this week. So what is your intention for this week, actually, as we're on our week?
Yeah. What is my intention? Just before I came on the podcast, I came back from a walk with my daughter, and we got caught in the rain. So my hair was everywhere. And so I'm like, came back and I went, mask, put a hair mask on it, and it'll flatten it down. And it didn't really. And I'll have a shower and wash that out, and then I'll just and anyway. So while I was doing all of that, an idea came to me about how I can put together a like a postural patterning idea that I have, and the way I work with a lot of my older clients or my clients with dysfunction. So neural dysfunction disease is something that I work closely with. So Parkinson's disease, multiple sclerosis, cystic fibrosis, and all of those things that come under that umbrella. And I just worked out a way that I could do that a different way to what I've seen other people do it. And I just think it'll be something that is not stressful for people and works in their own time. And so my intention is to sit and try to get a little bit more of that sorted in my head, or have it sent to me how it's meant to happen, the way you do. And the
I
way
love
Gabby
that.
Bernstein does when she writes books. Holy cow, do you wish you could write books like that? Like just sit there and
type it out.
and smooth. Yeah.
Yeah,
Watching
I
that going,
know.
I
I
wish.
know. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, let's turn to the hot topic of the day because you started mentioning
Okay.
it anyway. And I
Yes.
absolutely love the story of Gabby Bernstein. It's like the first time, so my little like meeting of her, the first time was in 2018. And my first interaction with her and her messaging is Gabby Bernstein is a spiritual leader, I would say, or a spiritual, she calls herself a spirit junkie, but Oprah described her as the next generation of spiritual leaders and things like that. So like Oprah has recommended you, like that's pretty awesome. But I was actually
not too
going
shabby.
through, yeah, right. So I was actually going through a really rough period in 2018. So there were just different challenges, I would say. And at the time, I was just exhausted. Like if you've listened to this podcast in the previous seasons, like I was so exhausted and I didn't classify myself as burnt out. I probably didn't even know that there was a terminology back then, even though it was only a few years ago, right? And I just remember just feeling so mentally, physically, emotionally exhausted that I was like, I need to train because I just love moving my body anyway. And I know it's good for me. We both know it, right? In our industry of why there are numerous benefits to it. But I couldn't muster up the energy to move. And then also, like we know, moving actually helps, sleep. And then I was waking up at 3-4 o'clock in the morning. So like not getting enough sleep, being at work for like 12, 14, sometimes 16 hours a day. That wasn't including if I was traveling. And then I'm just like, okay, this is just too much. But I still couldn't recognize it until my friend we came back from a concert in London and both of my friends stayed over. And the next day I was like, oh, I'm so tired. Like I'm literally just monged out on the couch while my friends are still there in the morning. And we were going to go for breakfast, but I was just like, just give me a bit, just give me some time. And they were like, wow, like, you're unusually exhausted. I was like, yeah, I drove us to London and I came back. Like we got back at like 2 a.m. No, 1 in the morning or something. And then we were up until 2:30 just chatting. So I was like, of course they're going to be tired. Everybody's going to be tired if they did that, right? And also it was a long week in work. So like everything's kind of catching up with me. But my friend who had actually had this experience of burnout just kind of like called me out on it. She was like, you're on the brink of burnout. And if you don't stop now, you're not going to recover for another 2 years. And I was just like, whoa, she never gives me this kind of advice. Like we've never had this type of conversation. And she didn't mean it in a malice or mean way, but it really struck me how differently she spoke to me then. And I was like, but I need to be outside. I need the sun. Like I need to go out. And she was like, open your French doors, let the sun come in, but stay where you are. That's all you need to do. Just get up and eat and pee. And I'm like, but I can't do that. Like, I'm like ants in the pants type of person. Like, I can't do that. And then for a series of a few days, you know how sometimes, somebody tells you to do something, you're like, I am so resistant against that. I'm not going to like conform. But then just, I'm so tired. I can't even fight. Yeah, okay, fine. I'll just do that. And so obviously because I heeded her advice and I didn't go outside, but that wasn't enough for me. Like that one day of monging out, when they say some people are so busy in work and then they take the weekend to become like a bit of a sloth. Not only couldn't I do that, but that wasn't enough for me to just chill out for a weekend or mong out and become like a sloth on the couch. And I was like, I couldn't do those different parallels. And then I started to integrate yin yoga. And then so that then ended up me being on YouTube and like trying out soft, gentle exercises. That was primarily just to quieten my thoughts because there was so much buzzing around in my head and I was always up at like in the middle of the morning. And then I happened to see Gabby Bernstein's talk that me and Kelly have literally just watched again.
And you saw that.
Yeah, that she basically was talking about surrendering. And the funny thing is when I started playing the YouTube video in 2018, in June 2018, I can just remember like it was yesterday. The sun was streaming in. I was sat on my yoga mat and she just appeared. And I was like, something called to me to watch it. So I watched.
Take your hands off the wheel through prayer. Many of you are praying for that cash or praying for that relationship or praying for that outcome to be exactly as you want it to be in the time that you want it to happen. But the secret to prayer is to forget what you think you need. When we begin to stop praying for what we think we need, but instead begin to pray for what is of the highest good for all, that's when we get lit up. That's when invisible doors begin to open for us. That's when we align with the truth and the magnitude of the presence of our authentic power.
And I'm so glad I watched it, because the first thing I thought was when she said, I'm trying to get pregnant and it's not happening and I'm trying to control everything. And I'm like, before she said those words, I'm like, but you're so stunning and skinny and pretty and vibrant. Like, what have you got? Hardship in life, right? And those thoughts actually came up. Like, I'm judging this person on the TV thinking, what issues have they got? And the funny thing is we tend to have that bias unless we know that person or we know their story. And when she continued to talk about her struggles with conceiving and her need to let go of control, I was like, mind blown. I've always wanted to be in control. Like, I'm in control with my career, I'm in control with the trajectory, I'm in control of what happens. And I was losing control because I was trying to control it all when went back in 2018. And I'm just like, wow, this talk is for me. Like, she hit me like deep down spiritually. And I'm just like, I need to heed this advice of let go of control. And then since then, I've started repeating the prayer, and the mantra she says is, dear universe, what would you have me do today? Where would you have me go? What would you have me say, and to whom? Because it's just letting that control go and just going, it's all going to work itself out. We're still okay in this moment. We don't need to control every aspect of our life. And then obviously a year and a half later, I was on the brink of a panic attack, and I found out I'm not going to continue being in that occupation or in that role. And that led to, the YouTube videos and the podcasts and speaking engagements. And it's just like, if those things didn't happen, like, I wouldn't be where I am right now. And so I feel like I've now gone on this journey, and that basically started a catalyst of learning more about manifestation, learning more about the law of attraction. And last podcast, you guys heard from Vita, who was talking about how she manifested her life. And this is interesting, Kelly. I actually found the term manifestation is an event, an action, or object that clearly embodies something abstract or theoretical. So for me, this is about taking a thought, taking a desire, taking a dream, and turning it into reality, because our thought becomes things. So every single thing that we see in front of us, everything we can touch, everything we can feel and be surrounded by, that has once been a thought in somebody's brain. And now we see a desktop, or now we see a webcam, now we see a house.
Yeah.
I just want to ask Cal, I've been speaking for quite a bit, but what does manifestation and law of attraction mean to you? And I just want to kind of like prompt you in terms of like the moving houses story a little bit later, if you can like usher that in for our listeners, because I find it fascinating.
Okay. So manifestation for me is exactly what you were saying. It's a thought or an idea, and I would add, and taking action toward that. So sort of agreeing on a goal, and then taking action toward that goal. And that's in the most practical sense of the word, what manifestation is, or how I go about it. It's not magic. It's really not magic. It's work, and it's knowing not what you want or what you think you want, but what gives you that feeling, to use that Marie Kondo, what sparks joy, what gives you that joy, right? And she's taken that and used it. She's very clever to have used that term, right? But that's what I think manifestation is, finding what brings you joy or brings you to be the best person you can be, and choosing actions that continually bring you toward that, because at any stage a decision can take you away from that, and not the detour in the right direction, because we heard that from Gabby Bernstein, a detour in the right direction, but an offshoot, like another road. Any decision that, if you don't know your goal, then you can what's that saying? If you don't know where you're going, you'll always get there, or something like that. Do you know what I mean?
No, I haven't heard of that
Dan, I
one.
wish I was good at remembering these kind of things. But it's something like, if you don't have a goal, or you don't have an end destination in mind, then you're always going to get somewhere. It's going to be an
Oh,
end
okay.
destination.
Okay. I
What's
get
that
what
one?
you
You
mean.
know the one, don't you? We
No,
will put it in the description.
I understand what you mean, but I don't know the origin of where it came
Yeah.
from. But just to
Okay.
add to that, actually, I don't. So Gabby Bernstein says every detour is, what does she say? Every obstacle is a detour in the right direction.
Yes.
So
That's
for me,
exactly what she
there's
said.
two analogies I want to use with this, because one of them is, I said this to my mum a couple of weeks ago, and I said, and I mentioned it to you on the green room chat, Cal, and I said, the ocean is the goal. Like, whatever the ocean is, like, I am the ocean is source energy, like, I am embodying the wholeness, unapologetically me, the spirit side of me, everything in the ocean, right? So I might be starting at the top of the mountain, but there's so many different rivers going down towards the ocean. So you may follow one track and it might divert you into another area of life, or it might, encounter some obstacles. It might take you a little bit longer. It might be the shorter route. It might be the longest route, but eventually you'll always get back to the ocean. And then coming back to what you were saying in terms of having a trajectory and actually a goal with manifestation, I've come to learn, if your intentions and your goals and your desires are airy fairy, well, you're just throwing like blindly at a dartboard, right? But
Absolutely.
it's like saying, okay, so I'm heading into London, and I don't know where in London I'm gonna go. Like, London's a big area, right? So why not set your sat nav with the intention of, this is where I want to end up? And I feel like that needs to be the direction that we have in law of attraction manifestation. So you have to pretty much know, okay, this is where I want to be and end up in London. So I'm not wandering around the streets. And it's up to you. If you want to wander around the streets, good. Great, go for it. Have a general location map. But there's other things where you're like, okay, so I want to go here and I want to do this and that, and this is how I get there. And the sat nav will navigate you there. And I feel like that could be as specific as the law of manifestation. But tell people about how you manifested your house, because I love this story. Like, I don't think you've mentioned it on a podcast.
No, maybe not. When we left the mountains, we wanted a beach house. And we had been looking on the south coast because my grandparents had a house down there, and it was within a few hours of the city, Sydney, and you could commute. It would have been a heck of a commute, but you could commute, or at least you could go down there for weekends before we decided to move down there full time. But that was before COVID, and no one was working from home, and the commute, we tried it a few times, and it was awful. It was awful. And we just went, maybe there's other options. And so we started looking on the North Coast. Now, the North Coast on the east coast of Australia, so the Sydney side of Australia, but the northern New South Wales up into Queensland is where we were looking. And we were looking for the quintessential beach house on the sand at the beach. And they just didn't exist anymore. Like, on the south coast, they did. They were very expensive. On the south coast, they did. But on the north coast, they didn't. And yet the north coast had the lifestyle, that it was warmer weather, it was less windy. There's more bigger towns. That sounds terrible. I don't mean more bigger towns. I mean, there's a number of bigger towns, close by, where you could work, or anyway, you could find somewhere close by that you could work. But again, there were no beach houses. And so we sold the Mountains house anyway, came up here and rented and bought a block of land that we were going to build the beach house on. And it just, gosh, COVID just spiraled building costs way beyond what we could still afford it, but it was, when we came up, it was going to be a $600,000 house, and by the time we got it through council, $1.6 million house, and it just burnt to spend that extra $1 million. So we went, no, we're not going to do that. So we continued renting, and we always look at real estate because we love looking at real estate and getting ideas. And anyway, we were away on holidays in the Kimberley, and this house came up on the realestate.com, and it actually had under contract. And we went, oh, wow, look at that. That is the beach house. If we were back home, we would have seen it. We would have bought it straight away. But darn, it's under contract. And we were away in the Kimberley, so we can't do anything about it. And it completely left our minds. And then when we came back home, this house the sale had fallen through, so it was back on sale again. And we weren't looking for it, but it came up in a feed, and we went, oh, like, we talked big about, we would have just bought this straight away, so we'd better go and look at it. And it was, honestly, it was everything we had thought we wanted. And yep. And so we came to look at it and walked through it one time, went, yeah, we'll buy it. And the real estate agent's like, don't you want to look through it again? Do you? And I went, no, we'll just buy it. It was just, and we got it for a good price. It was because people want the bigger homes, right? They don't want the little beach shacks with a sand backyard and everything. And we're like, that's exactly what we want. So it was like the cheapest house in Kingscliff, but exactly what we want. So is that the house story? Because you sort of look at me a bit like, oh, was that the one?
No, that's it. Because it's like you were looking and looking, but the thing is, you had in your mind, both of you and your partner had in your mind, this is what we want. You know, this is how we envision it, and this is what I'm saying. It's like you're envisioning it, you're looking at houses, you happen to see this one thing. It didn't really work out, and then it came back on the market. That's what I'm saying about. You're sending out signals into the universe by going, this is what I want, this is the beacon, and then all of a sudden the universe is vibrating it back. But also, you know, when you said, when you saw the house, you're like, this is it, this is our house. So it's like you had already envisioned yourself in there, being in there. You had the feeling of this is our house, not we want that, or this is what we desire, or we need that. It's very much it's that feeling. And I love that there is so much more research behind this, even though it's classed as spiritual. And some people say, well, that's not reality, and give us some proof and hard evidence. And the thing is, it's like, if we think about it, I know I said thoughts become things, and no pun intended on that one. But if we believe in something, if we believe in doing something, aren't we going to be way more likely to be successful in it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. If you don't believe it, why should anyone else believe you for a start? So if you say, I want this, but you say it with no conviction whatsoever, no one's going to want to help you or you know, feel the sentiment that, you know, you truly want it. Because if you have that passion or that joy or whatever emotion comes along with it, people sense that and go, I want to help her. When this house comes along, I'm going to tell you, I'm even going to look for one for you, you know. And people were doing that. They're going, sending us links, and we'd go and look at them. And
I love that. And that's the thing, you're putting your intention out there. And that's why you're like, sometimes, you can't do it on your own. You might need somebody else to give you a little bit of a nudge of, you know, say, for example, I wrote this down as an example. So manifesting a dream job, right? That you want this certain type of job with a certain organization, and you set in motions the events that will make it likely that you will or you won't get that job. So there is two choices right now. And what I mean by that is, as you said earlier, if you don't have any conviction in that, if you don't believe in it, if you're feeling bad or angry or pessimistic, you're far more likely to attract those thoughts and feelings and see things through that lens. But then if you've got that positive outlook in the situation, and you've got this attitude and belief that every failure is probably learning something new, that every time you learn you know, a new skill or a new talent, they're like, well, that's taking me to that job. There's a reason why I'm in this job, so I can learn something for this next thing, and not necessarily having it at the forefront of your mind at all times. Like you said, we forgot about the house. We just let it go at the back of our minds. But then you're still creating that momentum into the direction you're thinking, you're feeling, and you're acting towards those desires. And for me, if you've got that goal of that dream job, well, then you're building up characteristics like fearlessness, resilience, you know, determination, and all these things actually bring those desires closer to you. So you're embodying that person in that job. So rather than going, I just want that job, well, even if you get it, how are you gonna stay there? Do you have the right qualities? Do you have the right mindset to fit into that culture? You know, say, for example, people want to work in F1 all the time. And it's just like, if you class it as elusive or spotlight or blingy, well, that's far from what it actually is, right? That's only what you see on TV. And there's a lot of hard work. There's a lot of time and energy and effort that goes into the background staff. And sometimes sometimes there's like 900 odd people that never ever get to go to a factory, but they're there building the cars. So it's just like, which part do you want to be involved in? Do you want to go traveling, or do you want to do this? And I agree with you at the beginning where it says we need to be really, really honest and clear about what we want, set an intention. And this is why I always say, what's your intention for this week, right? Because it could just be anything, but there's so many intentions that we can make. What is the intention that we're going to have for this podcast? Like, how are you bringing your best self to it? What are you going to do when you wake up in the morning? And those intentions means, do you then end up pressing snooze on the alarm, or do you end up going, I've got this image of Joey and Friends going, morning, and he's got this such fun attitude. Do you remember that episode?
I do remember. I remember all the episodes. I love that show.
But this is the thing. It's like, if you're going to wake up groggy, well, that's going to be like, all right, well, let's just grab a cup of coffee because I'm so energetically drained. Let's go do this. Whereas if you're waking up, and I'm so lucky, like we both said this in the green room, or you mentioned it this morning about the sunshine and how it affects your mood. Like right now, as obviously the morning's coming on and the fogginess is gone from the morning, you can actually see and feel like the light.
You can see it on you.
That brings you in a better mood, right? So you're like, well, how are you going? All right, I'm going to wake up in the morning and I drink some fresh, clean, warm water. I'm probably, I don't know, some people do the lemon water thing. And I couldn't sleep this morning, so I just went to do yoga in the dark, because obviously the sun hadn't risen then. But I'm like, I want to do yoga because I want to do this for my mental well-being. I want to go do meditation. I want to align myself to these vibrations of feeling good. And I was feeling pretty crappy last night. I was tired. I was hungry. I ate late. It was a long day.
Yeah.
And I felt like shitty. And then I was like, but I'm the only one who can change that vibration. What is the vibration or the feeling that I want to feel? And this goes back to that intention. So there's another example that people say, oh, I want to win the lottery. I want £1 million. But do you actually believe that statement is possible? And what would you actually do with that money? How is it going to support your life, your way of living, your way of being? So then it goes back to that visualization of generating positive emotions. If you're happy, healthy, calm, you're attracting all of those vibrations, right? So if you're thinking, I want £1 million, well, what is that money going to give you? Is it just going to sit in the bank and you're like, oh, wow, I got £1 million? Or are you actually going to go, no, it's generating feelings of abundance, of security, of safety, of freedom, of time and money freedom, location freedom. Those are the feelings that money is going to give you, not the fact that, oh, great, I've got £1 million in my bank. You're not going to manifest it just on that, I want £1 million. You're going to go, well, why is that million going to serve you? And that's what I think. But what do you think, just to kind of like sum up?
Oh, no, exactly right. So like you're saying, if if you think of or put yourself in situations where you feel joyful, where you feel happy, where you feel secure, and you're not concerned about your shelter or your food or love, you have loving people around you, not necessarily a romantic relationship, but loving people, and that can be friends and that can be family, right? But that brings emotion with it, right? So if you have those emotions within you on a daily basis, then like you say, that like brings like. Yeah. So you just move in that vibration.
I agree. And the thing is, it's like Gabby says this in a talk as well, in terms of the universe has your back. And she says, focus on what's thriving. So instead of focusing on what you want or what you desire, focus on what's thriving. And like, have you got the security of your home? Are you able to pay the bills with comfort? Are you able to, go on holiday? Do you have all of these things? Well, wouldn't you class yourself as wealthy or affluent or prosperous? So it's like, when you embody those feelings of safety and security, and then focus on like you said, relationships. If you're looking for a guy or a girl or whoever to have a relationship with, well, the guy or girl won't make you like happier. You're the one who makes you happier. And I heard something really interesting as well, that it says that the person that you're in a relationship unlocks the level of happiness that was already within you. They don't make you happy. They give you access to unlock that happiness and unlock that love that you already had within you. And I was like, I love that. So it's like,
absolutely.
I feel manifesting a partner, be specific on the partner. What type of qualities do you want them to have? Like, who do you want them to be? Like, are they kind? Are they giving? Are they into spirituality, for example? Like, all these different things. Like, it doesn't have to be a specific person, but you can just go, am I now embodying these great qualities? Am I kind? Am I being abundantly affluent and generous and kind to my relationships? Like, me wanting a partner means that I need to find the love and embrace all the relationships I currently have. Right. And that's made me so much more softer and loving. But I think this is who I am.
Yeah, absolutely. Be your best, do your best, really enjoy what you've got. And I just think you get more and more of it.
I agree.
But if you're being your worst and you're really sad about or grumpy about everything, then you'll get more of that as well. So if you find it hard to be joyful or giving and generous, try being grumpy and sad, and just see whether what comes to you. Is it more people who are telling you more grumpy stories? Yes, it is. No one comes and tells the grumpy person happy things.
Yeah. And the thing is, it's like, when you're surrounded by a grumpy person, like, even if you're positive, you tend not to say much. Like, you just go, oh, okay, all right. Just kind of.
That's right. I
don't want to dampen your, rain parade. What do they say it? Like,
rain on your parade.
Yeah. I don't want to, I don't want to put more rain on your parade. It's just like, it's not a saying, but it's almost like just going, oh, you're already down there. I'm not going to add to your misery by telling you, oh, these things are great about me. You just don't.
Yes, exactly. You read the room. Exactly. Or like, you do try to help that person or pull them out of their slump, especially if you love them. But at the same time, where was I going with that? You don't give them, you've got to teach them to fish. You don't just give them the fish. So you're not just going to give them happiness or give them the money they think they want.
Yeah.
So you try to help them, but in a way that you think would benefit them, but they don't appreciate it.
Exactly. Right? I think that sometimes there's a lesson in somebody, I can't remember who said it exactly. It might have been, I don't think it was Oprah, but it might have been somebody of that caliber, where they said, if a friend asks me to help them out and they've bankrupt, I've said no. Even though they're affluent enough to support them, they said no, because it was like, because that lesson is going to keep biting you in the ass until you learn it. So by me helping you out of your bankruptcy situation, I'm not helping you, because you're the one who needs to learn that lesson, and you're the one who needs to come out of that struggle. And I found that really poignant, because I was like, actually, this is really This is really interesting to go, you're not there to save people, but unless they want to be saved. Right?
Yeah. 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 And sometimes not only if, but if they would do the same for you. If you're helping someone, you go, if the positions were reversed, would they do the same for me? Sometimes the answer is no.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's not that many people who would throw themselves under the bus or like stand in front of a bus to like take the hit, right? Because they're like, well, no,
Right.
I like my life more, thanks. Like I don't.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. So, and then I guess that comes back to, we like our comfy, cozy lifestyles, but environmental or climate change, right? So if climate change can be, or the damage to the planet, let's not even put climate change on the table because that's controversial, but, environmental damage does come from plane travel, air travel, right? So if we want to reverse that damage or not go any further with it, are we prepared not to travel by air anymore, ever?
Yeah.
Are we? Right?
Yeah, I agree. If you're so passionate about it, live by it, right? But don't just be like, and a lot of people do this of, oh, I really care about the environment. I really care about this, but that's my compromise. Like I'm not willing to negotiate on that. And that's fine.
Yeah.
This is a judgment-free zone. Like you do you.
Yeah.
You live your life. But then don't
tell us not to do that.
Yeah. I agree. Okay, so I think that like controversial topic right at the end.
Oh, I know. It's not like us, is it?
No, it's good. It's good because it gets other people to think about these things too, and maybe have these conversations with your friends and family.
Mm-hmm.
Who are the energy vampires in your life, and who are the people who actually lift you up?
Yeah.
And maybe talk about these controversial topics of just going, well, are you being who you are, who you say you are, or are you just talking the talk and doing something entirely different to your actions? Are you serving your manifestations and things that are coming into your life or want them to come in? But health motivational tip of the day. I like this topic because then we know we're rounding up the podcast. And also for me, I'm one of these like people that every time I've got a health motivational tip of the day, it's always going to run off the hot topic. So my health motivational tip of the day is find something you truly desire in your life. And it may be something, and just be honest with yourself. What do you actually want? And then I want you to write it down and burn the piece of paper and relax, knowing it's completely taken care of. So it's similar to placing an order on Amazon. You're not going to constantly go, when is my order coming? When is my order coming? Be honest with yourself. Write down what you actually want in your life. Be specific. Get that navigation, destination specific, and place it into the universe. Let it go and just forget about it.
Gotcha. Yeah, and just know that Amazon will deliver.
The universe will deliver, and replicate those emotions. If you feel joyful, hang on to that. So find joy in every day. So how can you be consciously aware of finding joy? And tell us what happens, if you've manifested something based on doing that ritual. So that's my health motivational tip of the day. Write down, be specific
beautiful.
who you are, and find joy.
Yeah, I'm going to ride your coattails on that one. That's absolutely beautiful and so relevant and practical because it's easy to do, and it's one way of surrendering a bit of control, which is such a. I think we all do it to a degree. Yeah. And when you realize that you are getting in your own way by trying to control it, then this is a good way of just taking the first baby step of surrendering a little bit of it.
Baby steps is good because it's hard for a controlling person to let go of control. Like, believe me, I'm continuing to try, but it's also like I'm reminded. Gabby Bernstein says this a lot. She's like, every time you think you've surrendered, surrender some more. Right? So just don't think that you've reached that end goal of you've surrendered. It's actually just, what are you controlling? What are you trying to control? And allowing things to just play out the way it was. If you if you had any idea of how amazing your life could be, like you'd probably be freaked out by it. So that's why you're not
Yes.
supposed to know the future. That's why you're not supposed to know all the amazing things that are coming into your life, but just be open to it and take those messages from the universe. And I really like even putting signs out there. Me and Kelly, we spoke about this before, but we're getting like massive synchronization, like
Oh
lots
my
of signs,
gosh.
lots of messages. And it's because we put
Yes.
ourselves out there and we say, oh, actually, I'm being supported. This means that the signs on my journey, that I've put this destination in my sat nav, I still can't find that destination. I'm not on it, but the signs are telling me I'm going in the right direction. So just
That's right. Yeah.
keep doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely, we are. And I am still, it's still the same one. I haven't asked for anything different, though. The same one is still coming up over and over and over and over again. And I just giggle and love it and get goosebumps every single time. It just
I love
blows
that. Yeah.
me away.
I always send like messages of appreciation. I'm like, more of this, please. This is amazing. Thank you so much.
Yes.
So I just send love out into the universe. But oh my gosh, Cal, that's it. That's us done for
Yeah,
the day.
that's us
Like,
done.
yeah, this was fun. This was so much fun. And thank you so much, everyone, for listening.
Yes. Yes. Thank you so much. And you too, T. You really led that one beautifully.
Was I
You always do.
controlling?
Ha ha ha. No, you led it. And there's a big difference
Okay.
between controlling and leading.
Okay. I'm really conscious of that, though. I'm really conscious about going,
Really?
did I just like completely overtake? Did I talk a lot in that? Did Kelly even speak?
I did indeed, but I listened a lot because I was very interested in what you were saying. So I could have spoken over you or up or put my hand up, but there was no need. It was really well done. So please don't think that. I didn't mean that.
No.
Please
I know
don't
you
think
didn't.
that.
I know we've got a good relationship, but it's just funny that because I'm aware of it now, I'm conscious that every time I'm like in a situation, like am I controlling it? Am I able to kind of relax a little bit more? See, even I'm still working on it years later. Surrender some more.
Yeah, no, I don't think you should worry about that as much as you do then.
Oh,
You're controlling, you're controlling how much you think you're controlling. You're controlling the surrender. I don't know.
Well, this is why my preparation serves me really well. So people who don't know, I've always prepped for these podcasts, and prepping is good, right? Always.
Great. Always.
But it's just
no,
like,
it is good.
that's my form of control. It's like preparation as much as possible, and then whatever happens after that, like go with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's what we should do in life.
That's how. Yes, exactly. So you are prepped to a standard, and that's the same as us with our physical fitness. You are prepped to a standard to be able to handle what comes next, but it's not all. It's like going out to a game. You are prepped to a standard, but what happens out there, you just have to deal with it.
Agree.
But you're able to deal with it. You've got all the tools.
Yes.
That's what I'm trying to say.
I know what you mean. You've got all the tools in your toolbox, and
yes,
now it's the time for your competition. Whatever happens during competition, you've prepped for this point. Whatever happens, happens.
That's it.
Thank you so much for joining Unapologetically You with myself and Cal. And if you found this podcast useful, comment below, share it with your family and friends. We would love to have you part of our community on Patreon. And you can also find the link in the description box below. So make sure if you're seeing this on YouTube, hit subscribe, click the notification bell so you don't miss alerts on the latest podcasts on YouTube. And I hope you enjoyed this podcast as much as Kelly and I did. All right.
That's it. That's off.
We'll see you on the next one.
All righty. You have a good one.